All right, today we're talking about home inspections. More importantly, how to parse through the three buckets in the home inspections that I look at. Health and safety items, the big ticket cost items that might not be health related, but that might cost you a fortune, and then of course all the minutia and how to parse through what's important in each of those three buckets. But before we jump into all that, be sure to subscribe to the channel, turn bells on notifications, and leave us a comment if you have any commentary on what it is we're talking about. We appreciate your support. And stay tuned to the end of the video for our pro tip of the day. I just got my home inspection back and there's 150 comments and items and pictures, and what do I do? How do we parse through what's important in a home inspection and what isn't? So to me, it goes into three different buckets. There's the health and safety buckets, there's the big ticket, like costly items that may not be health and safety, but that just might cost you a lot of money in the future. And then there's the minutia. So to me, first things first, we have to take care of the health and safety items. Now, how do we parse through that stuff? Because the home inspectors, rightfully so, will comment safety items on stuff that is unsafe, but one safety item might not be nearly as hard to conquer as another. For example, there will be a big red exclamation point if there's not an anti-tip bracket on your stove, because an anti-tip bracket holds the foot of the stove down so that if a child happens to climb on it, the stove doesn't tip over. It's anti-tip, right? To solve that problem costs you about $5 at Home Depot. That price might be wrong, but it's really inexpensive and it's really easy to solve that problem. So that's a big red star that is scary when you're looking at a report, but is really a minor thing to solve. That's a lot different than a wall covered in black toxic mold that you may have to do entire remediation on, right? So those are two safety issues, but obviously one, the black mold, is going to be a lot bigger liability, so to speak, than an anti-tip bracket. An anti-tip bracket is easy to solve, whereas something like a full room full of mold maybe necessarily isn't. So when we're parsing through the health and safety issues, it's important to know, okay, which one of these, they're all, I mean, the inspectors are good, right? And they are all legitimately health and safety related. However, some of the stuff, like I sort of roll my eyes when I see a big red exclamation point next to the anti-tip bracket, because it's like, okay, yeah, exclamation point, but for $5, boom, problem solved. Make sure that you're working with an agent and an inspector who can help guide you and parse through these things, because not all health and safety related comments are created equal. The next thing is the big ticket cost items, right? So when you're buying a home and you're paying the exorbitant prices that we have to pay here in San Diego or in whatever market you're in, and we're coming out of pocket with our life savings to cover down payment and closing costs, it's like, dude, I'm fresh out of cash. The last thing I want is have to spend another 15 grand on a roof repair, or $10,000 on a plumbing leak, or $30,000 on a new foundation, right? So the next thing we want to look at is big ticket items. And it's similar to our health and safety. An inspector might look at a roof and say, hey, there's some issues, some red flags, some idiosyncrasies, and so we'll want to bring a roofing specialist in, because we're going to want to know, is this a $1,500 tune-up, or is this thing need to be completely replaced for $15,000 or $20,000? So the big ticket items that typically pop up are foundation, plumbing, electrical, roof, and HVAC. Typically, those are where you're going to find your big ticket, your big money repairs. And we want to make sure that, if the inspector is commenting on things in there, is it a big cost or is it a little cost? And a good example is the first house that I bought. The AC worked fine on inspection, but when I moved into the house, I noticed it clicked off after 10 minutes. It wouldn't stay on longer than 10 minutes. So I had a heating and air person come out and they said, yeah, your system's shot. It's 30 years old. After the inspector told me it was working fine, your system's 30 years old. It needs to be replaced for $15,000. Well, I got a second opinion because I didn't want to just write a check for $15,000. And the next HVAC expert that came in said, oh, there's two wires that are flip-flopped in your thermostat, no charge. And it worked for the next 5 years that I lived there. So we also want to make sure that we're bringing quality professionals in, because these are two licensed HVAC people. One person said you need a new system for 15 grand, and the other guy, I paid him 20 bucks for gas money to flip two wires for me. So we want to make sure that when we're looking at the big ticket components, that we're getting quality information and that we're getting accurate pricing and information as to what's going on with these big ticket items. The last of it is the minutia, and most of it's going to be minutia. I mean, these inspectors, their job is to tear this place apart and tell you every little tiny thing that's going on. You got a cracked tile here, you got a loose faucet there, the hot and cold lines are reversed, right? That's as easy as unscrewing and rescrewing in most cases. Angle stop valves being replaced, the carpet being dirty, nicks and scuffs in the paint. That's all minutia, and I know it's hard to wade through this sea of information and determine what of it's minutia, what of it can be done, really quickly and inexpensively early on, and what health and safety items matter and which items are big ticket and not big ticket. So the pro tip of the day is this: you want to make sure that you're working with a good agent, a good inspector, and bringing in good specialists to make sure that everything is being captured, and so you have a full understanding of what's going on with the home, but that also you're not being unnecessarily spooked. So it would be really tragic if someone walked away from a deal or a seller canceled on you because you were worried about a $15,000 HVAC replacement when it really only costs you a couple bucks to flip some wires. So the pro tip is to make sure you're working with a good team of people, a good agent, a good home inspector, and good specialists to make sure that you have accurate information so you can make a good decision to keep you in a deal that works for you. So that'll be it for me today, guys. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, turn bells on, drop us a comment, leave us a like. We really appreciate your support, and we'll talk to you again soon.